I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpn.fm to discover more.
There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have another amazing guest. Right now, you can see him in Just in Time on Broadway, but before that, he was Old Deuteronomy in a production in Zurich, and then on the U.S. National Tour number 4 of Cats. So welcome, John Treacy Egan. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.
I always love having Old Deuteronomys on because you are the culprit and the reason the show exists because of your decision. So we're going to get into that, but I like to start at the beginning. You did Cats for the first time in Zurich in the 90s. This is like predates the 1998 movie and like a lot of the people's introduction to Cats that I interview with. So what was your introduction to Cats as like before getting to do it in Zurich?
So I saw the original Cats on Broadway pretty much when it opened. And I remember my parents got us tickets. My sister and I got tickets to go see it. And my sister wanted to go to St. Patrick's Cathedral before we went, and it was pouring rain. So we went there, got soaking wet, and then had to sit in the audience soaking wet and watch Cats. And again, not really kind of knowing what I was about to see, but knowing the song Memory because of Barbra Streisand, and then knowing Betty Buckley was going to sing it. And, you know, it's sort of like when you go to this show and you're like, oh, I'm going to hear a song I know, you know? And so it's kind of, you know, it's a pretty funky show, and you know, when you sort of experience it for the first time, you're like, "What's going on?" You know, but it was pretty wild.
Yeah, as someone who knew Memory, not knowing the show, did you get confused by the Little Memory at the beginning of or the end of Act 1?
I was a little bit like, that was it?
Yeah, because it threw me off because that was the only song I knew in the show when I saw it the first time, and I was like, "Wait, isn't this longer? Isn't there more?" Like I didn't know that component of the show at that point.
Right. But I was a total musical theater kid, so I was excited to see anything. But again, it was not like anything I'd ever seen before, for sure. Mm-hmm.
I love that you went from one church to another. You went from the Church of St. Cathedral, and then you went to the Jellicle Church here. Okay, right. So you get cast in Zurich in the 90s. Where is this? Like, this was a German production, right? Like, did you have to learn it in German, or did they do it in English at this point?
I did. So we did 15 days. The first 15 days of every month, the show was in English.
Okay.
And then the second 15 days of the month, or, 16 days, it was in German. That was in the beginning when I learned it. Then eventually they turned it into 10 days in English and 20 days in German. But those 10 days in English, if you did a matinee, you did them in German. So one day you were doing German in the afternoon and English at night. And it was pretty hilarious. One thing that would happen is, so you have a very international cast. I think we had, 16 different countries represented in that production. You had, Australia and England and America who spoke English. And then you had Vienna, Austria, Switzerland, Germany, most of the people from that side. But then, of course, there were other countries as well. Well, whenever a person would go up on their lyrics, they would naturally go to the opposite language because you thought, I'm wrong, I must be in the wrong language. So Americans or English speakers would go into the German language first, and the Germans would go into English. So it was hilarious that sometimes, a lyric would come out in a different language in the show. But I have a very funny story about Grant Newsom, who was our monkestrap, who we were doing the Peaks and the Pollicles. This is actually my favorite moment with him. Sitting on the tire, he's singing the Peaks and the Pollicles number, bark, 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 until you could hear them all over the park, right? So he says, bark, 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 until you could hear them all over the street. And he turns to me and goes, it's not street, what is it? Bark, 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 until you could hear them all over the street. For some reason, he forgot the word bark. And I'm like, bark? Park?
Yeah.
They rhyme. You speak English?
That is, I can't fathom. Like I've interviewed a few people that did in Hamburg and in Vienna, where you had to learn it in German, which is not your natural language, and learning a whole new show in general is challenging. Adding in singing and German's not an easy language by any means. It's kind of harsh at points. I can't, like, you basically did, if you did a matinee and then a night show, you would do it back to back in 2 separate languages?
Correct. Yeah.
How difficult is that, like, from your, like, the dancing part's consistent, the show's consistent, but, like, is that a challenge? Like, that seems so hard to me. I can't even fathom doing that and flipping that. I guess I don't speak multiple languages, so maybe this is nothing to somebody else, but it just seems so difficult, especially to sing it.
I think when you put your mind in it, you're fine. The 2 places where things could happen were Mungo, Jerry, and Rumpelteazer. They would sing Mungo, Jerry, and Rumpelteazer, or they would say Mungo, Jerry, und Rumpelteazer, right?
Yeah.
So if one of them would say und, they'd launch into the German. If one of them would say and, they'd launch into the English. The other one was the end of the Jellicle Ball. The first one to sing, I think, is it Jelly Lorm that sings, "You see the corner of her eye twist like a crooked pin." I think it's at the end of the Jellicle Ball. They've been dancing for 20 minutes. Nobody sung a word. Oftentimes, the actress who played that part would look at me on the tire. And I'd go, English, German. You know, basically, they'd forget, what language are we in? Oh, my God, what language are we in? Because they've just been throwing themselves around the stage for 20 minutes.
Yeah. God.
You know the famous feud between, there's a feud between the Hamburg production and the Zurich production.
No.
So basically, I may get this wrong a little bit. I apologize if my facts are a little bit off. But our director of the national tour, and I think he was an assistant to Trevor Nunn, was David Taylor. Gillian Lynn was the choreographer. There was the Gillian Lynn productions and the David Taylor productions. David Taylor did Hamburg. Gillian Lynn was connected to Zurich. They are not the same show. So you couldn't jump from one to another easily. You actually had to learn a different show. And also I was in the national tour, which was a David Taylor production. But I put, it's basically the American production, but I think probably some things. But yeah, I think they did not get along, and each person had their own production that they were sort of part of. So again, we would get people from Hamburg, and they'd have to learn the show kind of all over again to some degree.
Interesting. I found it really fascinating just knowing like Cats it's the same but different, and you know, we're seeing actually right now the regional productions are all kind of taking some spins on it after the Jellicle Ball did the ballroom version. Right. But even when you go back as someone who does not know choreography, does not know, like, you could show me the 2 Jellicle Balls side by side and I probably would not know the difference because I'm not a dancer. Right. But there are these like super fans and purists who are like, no, even between Andy Blankenbuehler and Gillian Lynn, like those are 2 different shows, but you can't do it. But it's interesting to hear where they're like probably pretty similar, but completely different at the same time, just because of who's involved with that. And then being able to kind of transfer between the 2, because you would assume like, oh, you did Cats, you know Cats, but it's like, no, you actually are learning an entirely different thing.
Right. I remember that. Well, there's one move that I always think that it's the oh gosh, I can't think of her name. Bomb Ballerina. When she's doing Singing Macavity, she has a move where she slaps her legs, and that's in the Gillian Lynn production. And I think in the American production, she just sort of like strokes her legs, but it's so like hot when she's like, you know what I mean, as opposed to like a move. But I was like, when I remember getting to like the tour production, being like, she doesn't slap her legs.
Yeah. So I guess that's a good transition, because you go from Zurich and then you go on to the U.S. tour. Yes. And again, how hard is that transition? How much, like, is it pretty similar or is it seamless? Because I guess now you're doing full English every show, but you're playing the same character and you've done it for, at that point, a period of time. Right.
It was pretty, there were, because remember Deuteronomy, he sits a lot. Yeah. So he doesn't have to learn a lot of choreography that's different, and the music, and I think the lyrics are basically the same in English in both productions. So there's a little bit of a transition. The costume was a little different. The makeup was different. And it was sort of a quick part to kind of be put into the show. I had a lot of time to learn it, and I probably didn't need as much time as they thought. So I had a lot of watching.
Yeah. Did you sit on stage during intermission in both productions?
That's a good question. I don't remember. I must have in the U.S. tour. I think I sat on both. I think the U.S. tour you got a break, but I'm pretty sure in Zurich I didn't. In Zurich you could come up on the stage because it was the legitimate set. It was the same set pretty much that we had on Broadway to a degree. So people would come up on stage and they'd look at the set, and sometimes I'd sit there really still. One man came up and he didn't realize I was there. Yeah. He was like almost like looking like. He put his hands like on my knee and like was like leaning forward to look past me, and I was like, "That's Grüezi," which is German. Which is Swiss for hi. He was like, "Oh," he didn't really realize I was sitting there. I'm like, "You didn't see me?" Kind of hard to miss.
Yeah,
but I think I had a little bit of a break, but then I went and sat up there on the tour. But I don't think people were allowed to come up on stage because I think it was too difficult to get on stage from touring houses.
Yeah, as I say, it changes probably every place you go. It's also fascinating because like the first time I saw it, it's like cell phone camera era, and everyone's going up there and trying to like selfie with Old Deuteronomy versus
that's funny.
Versus like that wasn't the case back then, and yeah, I mean it's like you're going up there and getting an actual moment like in the tribe, like you're getting your Jellicle moment there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about some Old Deuteronomy theories and experiences of I always am fascinated like what you're told about your character and then what you had to add to Old Deuteronomy's kind of lore, because it's pretty open-ended and there's so many different versions of how you could think about the family tree or connections or how you're making the Jellicle choice. So when you think back to Zurich even, what do you remember about what you were told about Old Deuteronomy as the leader of the Jellicles? Like, what is that like backstory you're given as a character development?
Well, not much beyond that is that he is, his protege is Munkastrap, and that Munkastrap has a relationship with him, trying to, show that he can take up the mantle because, pretty soon it'll be Old Deuteronomy's turn to go to the Heaviside lair, and he'll have to make that choice for him. I think, that he may have sired some of those kittens that are on stage, and that's pretty much most of the backstory. But I always found it really, really incredible to have like there's nothing telling the audience. So to have like a strong relationship with the actor who plays Munkastrap is important because that's your main connection. He's your main connection to the rest of the show. Everybody else is just loving, cuddling, fawning. But that's where I think you get to do your most acting with the Munkastrap.
Did you try to add anything to that though? I mean, like you have to at some point think about the other characters that are all fawning over you. Like there's so many theories, and most of them are fan theories, and some of them have now been like added.
Oh, I'd love to hear like some of them. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was a production in Aurora, Illinois that just actually put the family tree out, and they created their own version of the family tree, and Old Deuteronomy was dad for everybody. I mean, 100% of them, or dad or grandpa, I guess, in some capacity. And so there's kind of that. There is some questions about, are your three sons, Munkastrap, Tugger, and McCavity, like that seems pretty consistent in most productions.
Interesting.
But there's just a lot of trying to understand, like, I think it's probably from the 99 Wives line, but where the relationship is and like why he's making the decision and what is all the other cats' relationships to him.
Yeah, no, I don't think I never got to dig that deep. There was never a conversation to dig that deep on those situations. It was more or less, I think it was probably a lot of surface in the fact that you see who he is. Sometimes I would think of him like, what's that cat's name? What's that? What's my grandchild's name again? I got so many of them, I don't know what his name is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that I love them all, and that they were all very sort of affectionate. And I didn't have the theory in my head of the three sons. Just the Munkastrap was.
Okay. Well, that was going to be my next question, because it does seem like a lot of people think that McCavity is your son, and those are three brothers. And it's kind of weird to me. Like, that's one of the weird, as I learned the story more, plot lines of like, all right, he's kidnapping his dad, you know, like that does feel kind of strange. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, maybe he wants to get rid of him so that he can take over and then he can overpower Munkustrap, because there is a fight, you know, Alonzo, Munkustrap.
Yeah.
And they're defending Deuteronomy, so it is kind of a cool theory, actually.
Yeah. What about relationship with Grisabella?
Yeah, I think he knows who she is and maybe had probably, you know, been with her at some point and, you know, has seen, you know, her decline through the years, and knowing that she's also probably left the tribe a few times and then tried to come back, and, you know, cats don't necessarily always get along in real life when they come back.
Yeah.
But he knows her for a long time, and she deserves the chance, I think, to be heard and to be given a moment of respect and a moment of, you know, to go to the Heaviside Lair.
Yeah. Okay, this is not good for. That's going to be my last question. The thesis of the show is who you're going to pick. So we'll come back to that. But the one last kind of plot point I wanted to ask you a little bit about is, I'm assuming you're cast and talk about this that much, you know, or think about the Jellicle choices. But did you, as like an Old Deuteronomy, ever think about, like, you've made this decision for however, I guess, eternity at this point? Do you think about, like, who was last year's choice? Who's next year's choice? Like, is there an order, or is it Grisabella comes back, so that's why she's a choice this year? Did you bring her back? Like, how much does that is that plot point thought about, or is it all just pretty surface level of like, just make sure you get it in German or English today? Correct.
I think it's pretty much a surface level, but I would say that Gus is definitely the next choice for next year.
Okay.
Gus was probably the first choice for this year. And then, you know, this happened, and I don't know if he brought her. I would say probably mine. He didn't bring her here. She basically showed up, and you know, he watches the reactions of the others, and basically, you know, he wants them to help with the choice, and basically, like, you know, calm down. This is not your choice. Let's see what she has to say, kind of thing. They have a very funny actor, Richard Poole, I worked with on the national tour. Who he would give me the dirtiest look when I picked Grisabella. And he would give me like, okay, thank you so much. Great. Good choice. You know, and it was, you know, he'd just try to make me laugh. And he's a very funny guy. And I used to basically say to him, look, you have got to leave me alone when she sings Memory. It's a very important moment. This is a very stoic moment. I know this is the 8th month together and you want to fool around, but you've got to let Memory be Memory. And you can't make me laugh. She's counting on me. So that's kind of a situation, you know, that I'd be like, this is the moment that we've been all waiting for. Nobody screw around.
I love that. I had Richard on when he was doing Phantom towards the end, and we talked about it because he did, you know, he was the bus track in multiple tours, you know, a bunch of productions. And I mean, he's Team Gus in the Jellicle choice there.
Absolutely.
So he did. I love that he gives you a dirty look of like, no, it's my turn.
He's a very funny man too. Yeah. And he would torture me and I would torture him right back to the best of our ability. But yeah, he was a lot of fun to be on stage with, I have to say.
I love hearing some tour memories, like the concept of touring, you know, at that stage in most people's lives, doing the U.S., doing this kind of crazy show that's kind of at that, especially on your tour, there's not the social media aspect of where people can dig into the theories and everything like that, you know, like what I'm doing here. So you're walking in, for a lot of people, kind of blind, or they saw it in the 1998 movie type of thing, or they saw it in, you know, on Broadway. Like, they've had some interaction, but it kind of creates some of these wild memories. And so I always love hearing some of, like, what's the things you'll never forget about that U.S. tour, whether they're funny moments on stage, mishaps, or things that just like reactions from the crowd.
Oh, yeah. Well, besides Richard making me laugh, there was, you know, I was there 93 to 95. So you're right. There was none of it. I mean, you know, we thought we were the big deal. So we would get to different cities and we would go to restaurants to try to eat. And we would say, drop the C word.
Yeah.
Like we're in Cats, and they're like, oh, let's get it right in and sit right down and eat because we know people are going to see your show. Didn't always work, but it was our idea. There are some great, hilarious moments. I mean, I think there was a moment where we actually did at the St. Louis Muni. I did the Muni as Cats outside, and it was I think it was like the 100th anniversary of the Science Museum. So we're outside, and I'm about to sing "Moments of Happiness," and I'm singing "The Moments of." Suddenly, like they set off all these fireworks. It was the moments of. So the conductor's kind of like, stop. Let's wait a second. Because there's all these. It's happening in another side of the park, but it was a big one. There was another one where there was a fight in Miami where I made my entrance. My legs may be tottery, I must go slow, but be careful of Old Deuteronomy. And I turn around to suddenly there's a big scream in the audience, and half the audience runs to the side. And we froze again. Conductor's like, hold. Like, what happened? We found out that I guess there was a person who was getting up and down, and it made the other person annoyed. So the other person slapped him, and the other guy pulled out a gun.
Oh, wow.
And the audience went, what? And I guess eventually those people, the guy who pulled out the gun, that couple left. So there was a little bit of a like, what is happening? I remember there was a moment I was sitting on the tire and somebody had, I don't know if they fainted or something. They were close in the front and they laid them in the aisle. And the person was sitting there, and I actually said to one of the kittens, like, go off, it's a stage management. There's somebody laying in the aisle. They need help. It was one of those things where, and they basically took the person out. Maybe they were allergic to cats. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully they were fine. But yeah, there's a lot of things. I mean, we traveled by bus, we traveled by air, some great hotels, some great cities, some not so great cities. It was really great. But we were in Hawaii for 3 weeks, which was incredible.
Yeah.
To go to Hawaii with Cats and to be there and, show up at the stage door in flip-flops, in a bathing suit in LA around your neck. I think a couple of weeks before we showed up, there was a circus there, and there was an elephant killed its trainer. These are happy stories. Aren't you glad you asked, Mike?
Yeah.
Killed the trainer like on the street, like the elephant got out and then killed the trainer, like the same place we were in. It was like, oh, okay. Then we also did something like I think it was Halifax, where we were in like a very big arena, and they put up 2 huge screens on either side of the stage. This was the biggest thing we ever played besides the Muni. So they used to say to us, do the show, don't mess around because you don't know if the camera's going to be on you, and there's going to be 2 big screens with you guys on it. And, so the pressure of that, sometimes you could look out of the corner of your eye and see yourself on the giant screen. You're like, oh my gosh, it's kind of wild. But it was a great way to, see the country.
Yeah.
To basically be taken around and to do the show. And it was pretty great. Pretty big experience. And Switzerland too. I mean, to be in Switzerland was a gift.
Yeah, Zurich's amazing. So you had get to see the U.S., get to learn a little German, see Zurich, and and do a show that's again like one of the most long-standing, memorable shows.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna take a quick break, and then we'll be back for more of The Wrong Cat Died.
I want to talk about Just in Time now, though.
Okay.
I want to pivot to that. I saw it. I loved it. It's so great. It's so fun. It's a very good time, super interactive, like with everybody kind of moving around. So what's your experience been like in the show before we kind of get into some fun Cats Just in Time crossover?
Well, I have to say that, working with Alex Timbers I've always wanted to work with Alex Timbers. So he's amazing. And Jonathan Groff he's really something, man. He is the nicest person. He's genuinely warm and friendly and just a lovely, lovely guy. And I say to everybody, he's tireless. Like he from the first rehearsal to the last performance of the night, he maintains the same energy. I think he's so happy doing it. I mean, he loves what he does, and he loves the piece, and he's so lovely to everybody in the cast, and it's a really, really lovely cast to work with, and a lovely company to work with. So I'm feeling very privileged to be a part of it, and it's a really good time. I mean, I was actually thinking about last night. I was standing and watching Act 2, and I went, man, my job is I get to watch this every night. And I know, like, it's sometimes that can be hard for people, but this is unbelievable. I mean, this orchestra and these performers, and it's just a really exciting time. And I'm so happy that it's so successful. Especially because, for Jonathan, he deserves it. I mean, he's a really lovely person. He gives you, and again, he gives so much, and he's tireless. And that's not just smoke. That's the truth. I mean, he really is very special.
Yeah, you have such an incredible cast and company, as you mentioned, and it's such a fun time. Like, I didn't know a lot going in. I knew a little bit about his life, and I knew a couple of the songs, but I kind of went in a little blind into what the show was going to be like, and I love that, like, that it kind of almost pokes fun at itself at times and understands what it is. Like, one of the first jokes, I'm not really spoiling too much, but I love the joke that we're in the basement in the Winter Garden of the Wicked Theater. Yeah. And I'm like, that's just such a fun way to, like, remind everyone this is going to be fun. Here's where we are. And then it just keeps that momentum through the whole way through the show. And the whole crowd interaction, I made my friend sit on the aisle because I heard, I'm like, I don't need to dance with Jonathan. Like, I was like, I don't know if where we are is where he's going to stop, but just in case, you're going to sit there so you can dance with him. Right. But I just had a blast from start to finish. And I now know you have a couple cats, in your cast. So
yes. Yeah.
You have,
I was going to say that the word that Alex Timbers used was cheeky. He's like, our show is a little cheeky. Which I love that, because it means that, everybody's representing who they're being. They're not literally giving you the best imitation. I mean, like, when I went on, I had to be Elvis. Yeah. 63 years old. I don't think people are buying the fact that I was Elvis, but they get the representation of what Elvis was at that moment.
Yeah.
Yes, I know Christine was a cat. Caesar was a cat. I don't know who else.
Christine was one of my first guests ever on this show. She was in the first 5 guests I had ever on the show, and was
right. She was in Andy's, right?
Yeah, she was in the 2016 revival,
right?
And then as Bomb Ballerina, and then I just had Caesar on recently, and his episode came out recently, where he did a regional production, and then he did a illegal high school production where they did it without any rights or anything, and just kind of had some fun with it. So he's it was super fun conversations. So with him, what we did is we casted cats into the character. So which character personality would play which just in time character, which I always love doing. But since we just did that, I want to, and your Old Deuteronomy, I want to flip this a little bit today. Okay. So I'm going to give you the just in time character. Or characters, because there's the sirens together, and I want you to tell me why or why not they could be your Jellicle choice, and then I want you to pick your Jellicle choice from the show at the end here.
You mean who goes to the Heaviside Layer, or who be a cat?
Who's going to the Heaviside Layer?
Oh gosh. Okay.
So what would be their they're all to me, the plot of Cats, the loose plot of Cats is they're all vying for their reason why they should go. Right. And so I'm going to give you the character from Just in Time, and I want to tell you what would their argument be for why they should
interesting.
go.
Okay, cool.
And then you, as Old Deuteronomy, get to ultimately make the choice, yes or no. So let's start with the sirens.
Okay. They're not going. They're too young. They got too much life to live.
No argument for them at all.
No argument. Okay. No, go out there, have fun, live your life, experience all the other cats. Jillian Lynn would say, go out there and have sex.
Yeah. Okay. What about Don Kirshner?
Don Kirshner, he can't go yet. He's got some time behind him, but who would Don Kirshner represent? I don't know who he would represent. Maybe like the Alonzo. He's like a young guy, kind of the Alonzo.
I had him as Skimbleshanks because he just felt like he was kept. Oh, so
that's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. Yeah. What about Ahmet?
Oh, he's Buster for Jones. Sure. Yeah. No, he's not ready to go yet.
Nope.
No.
What about Polly?
Well, I mean, Polly's the obvious choice for, a Grisabella, because at one point, she does age and she does, not to give anything away. But also, Polly is hot, man. Polly needs to be bomb ballerina. I mean,
Oh, okay.
come on, man. Yes, Polly is a bombie. Well, actually, I think that's actually one of the backstories. I think that I heard at one point that Grisabella was like Bomb at one point. Yeah. So yeah.
So she's not ready to go yet either.
No, she's not ready.
All right. What about Connie Francis?
Ooh, Connie Francis. Connie Francis could be. See, I'm definitely gonna make Nina Demeter because she's a little wacky. So Connie Francis would be. I don't know. Maybe. I can't think of the little cat, the little memory cat. I can't think of her name.
Syllabub.
Syllabub. She's a Syllabub.
Yeah. I had her as Demeter mostly because of the end where she like comes out and is like, I've had my fourth husband. And
yeah, that's a good point.
That could be there. I also really would love to convince, if you can, I asked Caesar this too, like, can you just convince Erica and Gracie Lawrence to sing McCavity at some point? Like the two of them. Because I have Sandra Diaz, Bomb Ballerina, or Victoria.
Oh, yeah, she's Victoria. She's 100% Victoria. But listen, that's a great idea. I know they're going to do a concert together at some point, and they were going to sing. What are they singing? I think they're singing from Smash.
Okay.
McCavity's the best song.
I want the two of them to do that. Okay. What about, you said Nina, you have as Demeter.
Yeah.
Is Nina ready? Like, is Nina ready to be your Jellicle choice?
No. But, their other backstory is Demeter's a little nuts because she's McCavity's. She was a McCavity girl, and she's just been put through it with him. So
yeah, that does make sense. I didn't think about that angle for Nina for before. What about Charlie?
Charlie's rum tum tugger.
Yeah. And then Bobby.
Bobby, well, he's the leader, and unfortunately, I always feel like poor Munkustrap. It's kind of like the thankless role, but it's like it's such an important part. I mean, Bobby, he's somewhere between Munkustrap and Rum Tum Tugger, He really is more like a Rum Tum Tugger. But, maybe we'd make him the Munkustrap because he's our leader, and that's kind of where he's headed.
So who's your Jellicle choice from the Just in Time cast?
Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, then I guess we got to send Polly.
We're sending Polly. Okay. That means that you should be sending Gus when I ask you this last question, if you're sending Polly.
No, I didn't call Polly Gus, didn't I? I called her Bomb.
No, you call her Bomb, but doesn't that have a kind of a Gus feel?
Yeah, that's true. She also has a Grisabella feel, too.
That's true. Okay, let's do the cat's rapid fire, and then we can get to that conversation here. Right. So if you could go on for one night, any cat, whether male, female, could do it, can do it, could dance it, could sing it, whatever, who do you want to go on as one time?
Bomb Ballerina.
Yeah. Who are your favorite and least favorite cats from a personality's point? So, like, who would you want to hang out with, and who would bug you to hang out with?
Well, Corco, Pat, and Tantamile seem like a bore, so I don't think I would hang out with them.
They kind of scare me, too, a little bit.
Right. They're bizarre. I would hang out with Pounceful.
Pounceful, okay. Favorite song in the show?
I love Grisabella the Glamour Cat. I think that's beautiful. I love that, the harmony in that. I think I would say that melody.
Was there anyone that you liked more in German or disliked more in German versus English?
You mean song-wise?
Yeah, song-wise. Like, was one like way more challenging or way more difficult?
Yeah, Skibbleshanks is hard to sing in German.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's so fast. Yeah.
And then I was gonna say my fun question. I always ask one fun one. You were in being in Zurich for so long. One of my favorite parts of Zurich was I had some of the best schnitzel I've ever had in my life there. So, what cat do you think would be cooking the best schnitzel?
Ooh, I think Bustopher Jones.
It's got to be Bustopher, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that was what I thought too. All right, let's get back to the $1 million question. I've argued at length that I don't think Grisabella's the right Jellicle choice. So I want to hear who is your choice, not your Old Deuteronomy choice, but who is your choice and why, and then I'll probably have some follow-up questions.
Okay. What was my choice and why for the Jellicle? Okay, for the Heaviside layer. Look, man, I can't vary from Grisabella. I think, but you're saying I can't pick her?
No, you can pick her. I just will ask. I think
it's Grisabella. I think it's Grisabella for sure. I think Grisabella, Again, Cats is about second chances. It's about a second chance, or, I don't know if it's her second chance or more than her second chance, actually. But also, she's brave. She basically, she wants it. She comes forward, into a group of people who are basically telling her, we don't want you here. And she's brave enough to, she gets scratched by one of the cats, she has to make her case for herself. And as much as you want to say, give Gus has had a long life, he could last another year and then it's his for sure. But Grisabella kind of upsets the balance right there.
Yeah. Okay, so those are two of my follow-up questions you kind of teased. Okay. One is, does Grisabella have another year in her? Like, could she make it another year if she came back?
I think she could.
Okay.
But it would be extremely painful.
Okay. And then what is your definition of the Heaviside Layer? Like, where's she going when you send her up?
Why does Disney World pop into my head? Except I don't think she could afford it. Hawaii.
Okay, so she's going to a better, she's not coming back. Like, she's leaving.
Story? Our Grisabella from the national tour, where she went to Hawaii, she fell in love with Hawaii, and she spends a lot of time in Hawaii since.
So she's there.
Lived in Hawaii. Yeah, so it's so funny that I picked Hawaii, and
that's her Heaviside Layer.
It's like where she goes. It's like where she hangs out. She has friends there. She lives there a lot of time of the year. Yeah, it's kind of wild.
Okay, so my biggest argument against Grisabella is that I don't disagree with the redemption arc story. Like, I think that's the core of the musical and really important.
Yeah.
Where it breaks for me is it's like, why are we then killing her? Like, because that's like to me the joke was always that the Heaviside Layer is you're murdering her, like she's being sacrificed. And so I really want her to have her year with her family, like bring her back. You have the whole same story, but she's now being reaccepted by everyone. She's now a Jellicle again, and and I assuming the family tree is the way I've kind of thought about it. There's some of her children are there, there's some of her spouses are there. Like, she's now being brought back to the family, and I'm like, that's such a beautiful story. Let her go to a birthday party and have some, another couple family dinners before she goes next year, and send Gus this year.
Well, I mean, look, as we're told, I think basically if you've grown up with a Christian background or I don't know, even American, that heaven is a better place, Heaviside Layer, you may look for the cats, it's a better place. It's where they would go and nothing would hurt, and they would be reunited with loved ones that they have lost, and everything. It's a bit of a paradise that she's done with this plane, and it's time for her to move on to the next plane. And hopefully what they all believe is the next plane is better. Now, this all might be a terrible version of, what's that movie where they, I can't think of the movie where they kill the people at the end. Because they think this is the better place. But yeah, it could be basically, a snuff musical. But
yeah,
I think the idea is that she's not really getting killed. Nobody kills her. He just takes her on a tire up to a different plane where, I don't know, maybe she's sort of reborn. She's reborn there.
Yeah.
And who knows in what form. But
I like your version that the tire is taking her to her airplane to Hawaii.
Yeah,
it's just the jet bridge or whatever is all you're doing.
Dude, that tire situation, I have to tell you, so funny. Like on the road, we just have to tell you a funny story. Is I would say, you do a 5-show weekend: Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's a lot. By the time we get to Sunday night, we're doing the show, and I'm up there singing "A Dressing of Cats." And they're taking the set apart above my head while I'm singing. And I used to beg stage management. I go, you guys, can you not with the drills? I go, it's not, I'm not being a diva. It's not that I don't like it. I go, it makes me laugh. It's like, we gotta go.
Yeah.
Like, we gotta go. We gotta get the stuff in this truck. We gotta get the stuff in the truck. I'm like, can you just give me like 2 minutes to sing the song? Because it gives me the giggles, and that's the problem. I'm up there like giggling, like singing "Dressing a Cats," and I'm supposed to be, reverent. So it wasn't about being a diva. It's like, I can't sing with this noise, but it used to just crack me up, and I used to sort of be primed for it. Like, I'd be up there, and the music would start, and I'd be like, "Are they going to do the drills?"
Yeah, that's such a touring traveling of like, they're going to leave whenever they finish, and so if they can start even 2 minutes earlier. they're gonna get out 2 minutes earlier. It's like, no, let's. That is so funny. I never even think about stuff like that. But being on the other side, like, you definitely understand where they're like, it's already late at night, like, and they are gonna have to pack that truck and drive God knows where immediately, and they're like, let's start right away.
I actually have one more interesting story about. I was on the national tour. I had a friend who was a conductor of the national tour many years before. He actually conducted it on Broadway. He was a supervisor for a while. He actually was partially part of my doorway into getting the audition. He was really instrumental in giving me. His name was Eddie Robinson.
Okay.
Edward G. Robinson. And so what happened was he came to see me in Switzerland. He was in charge of it in New York, I think, at the time. I made a videotape. I sent it to the national tour. I did audition for it in New York at one point. But I gave it to them, and they hired me from a videotape from my performance in Switzerland, which was pretty amazing of them to do. So I did a year and a half. But so this is where I think I got this story. One day, the understudy Grisabella was on, and we're at the very end, where we get onto the tire, and the tire, goes up, and then we meet the staircase, and she goes into it. So we got to that part of the show, and we're on the tire, and I go lift up the tire, and the tire is not going anywhere. The tire is not going anywhere. So we walk off the tire, and I kind of gesture up to the sky, and the light ring comes down, and I'm holding her hand. She's looking at me like, "What are we doing?" And she gets on the light ring, and she rides the light ring up into the sky. So the show's over, and she turns to me, she goes, "How did you know to do that?" I go, "Well, that's what you're supposed to do, right?" She goes, "I've been on this tour for like 6 years. That's never happened once." And she said, "How did you know to do that?" I said, "I feel like somebody told me about that a long time ago. Like they had never told me, but I think I learned about it when I had seen my friend on the tour years and years ago, who was the musical director, which was, many years before. But it's so random that, sometimes the tire didn't work. So,
oh yeah.
I kick her out through the audience.
Yeah, as I say, like there's you walk to the heaviside layer, you just kind of go stage left to the heaviside layer. Like there's probably a few ways if the tire doesn't. It feels like on tour, you're trying to almost cram the set into whatever space they give you, and it's so different everywhere.
Right.
Like it's definitely not going to work every week.
Oh, I'll tell you. Let me tell you two quick stories that my husband loves. Green eyes. You know what green eyes is, right?
Oh, my favorite part.
Green eyes is when you have to go in the audience where the little green eyes, you blink them into people's faces. So I would have to do green eyes. Some of these theaters are gigantic. The Fox in Atlanta, they're just gigantic theaters. So you're walking through the aisles, doing the green eyes. Twice. I got one. We're walking down the aisle, and you hear this woman look at me and goes, "Look, Pearl, there's a big one." Which he loves to say that. "Look, Pearl, there's a big one." But then I went up to one guy's face, and he pats me on the stomach. "You're a hefty cat." Which is one of my favorites. "You're a hefty cat." So funny. Poor Helen Frank got punched in the face.
Yeah.
She was a bum ballerina. She got punched in the face doing green eyes. Somebody went, boom, because it freaked him out. So, yeah, the green eyes is a little treacherous, I guess.
A little dangerous. They actually aren't doing it everywhere anymore. I mean, COVID kind of paused it in some places, and then now it seems like it's very dependent on the theater's like ability to have like, could you get back to stage quickly if you needed to?
Right. Yeah. Well, those big theaters, like say I just played the Fox with Clue, the national tour of Clue, and I just remember going to the catacombs of the Fox. We were like, "My God, this place is huge. We get lost down here."
Well, this has been so fun. How can people stay in touch with you on social media or just on what you're working on? Sure.
I'm official John Treacy Egan website and social media. Treacy's TREACY. That always throws people off. EGAN. But come see Just in Time. It's amazing. You really, you'll just enjoy it. And it's, standing room is, there's lots of standing room, and it's really easy to stand through it for 2 hours. Totally. It's an hour each act. And it's just a good time, man. It's really
another one where there's no bad seat in the house. So it's like just
no bad seat.
It's such a intimate space that like you could sit anywhere and have a great time. And yeah, I mean, I can't rave about it enough. And it was extended, right? You're through the end of the year at least, or through January.
Definitely, tickets are on sale through January 11th right now.
Yeah, so there's time. So come see the show. I agree. I walked out so much happier than you walk in. And I think that's like, to me, that's such a great part of theater and musical theater right now, especially in, everything going on in the world. It's nice to be able to come out happier than you walked in.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can pick up tickets for Wicked while you're there and go to see that.
Just go ride the escalator back upstairs. Well, this has been so fun. Thank you for coming on and sharing all these stories and memories.
Thank you, Mike. This has really been fun. I love reminiscing about, those crazy years. It's in my yak hair.
Yeah, Cats is a different time, I'm sure, for everybody. So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, and thanks everyone else for listening to this episode of The Wrong Cat Died, a podcast breakdown of the Cast Ash feed. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other podcast. Follow us on social media at The Wrong Cat Died, or check our website, thewrongcatdied.com.